How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad at all. How did the summer and everything treat you last year?
Nice, actually. Yeah, really nice. Yeah, I wish I was doing that this year. Yeah, because after I spoke to you, I was in Switzerland. Then I'd been in Spain. I went to Mykonos. It was a summer of fun. Luckily for me, less so for
Good.
people.
You got to take advantage of the whole downtime with lockdown, pretty much, and
Yeah,
a few
no,
places. Yeah.
I absolutely did, which I suspect will not be the case this year. Because I don't know, I just was chatting to my friend saying, lockdown has started to ease, but it doesn't feel like it. I still feel locked down. I don't know if you feel the same.
I don't know. I feel the opposite because I was on the high risk, so I had to shield the entire time. So, like,
Oh,
I've probably
really?
been out in the year 2 or 3 times, like literally out, as in like doing things, like
Yeah.
2 or 3 times in the last year. The rest of it has been me just literally working in this room,
Oh
pretty
my
much the
gosh.
entire time. So, a couple of weeks ago was the first time where I was like, I'm going down to London to catch up with some friends and do a little bit of work outside work. So
Yeah.
it's been, I can't wait for it just to get back to normal. I've got trips and everything booked. So
Oh, you have. You like Dubai,
yeah,
don't you? Have you booked to go to Dubai?
we went to Dubai for Christmas. So at the moment in July, we're going to do south of France. We're going to do a drive down to south of France. Then in August, I've got LA that I need to book as well. So, and then we're going to do Dubai again at some point towards the end of the year, probably Christmas again, I would imagine. So that is the plan.
Oh, well, I hope that you'll go ahead.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully. I mean, things look like they're going right at the moment. I've had my second vaccination on Wednesday.
Oh, perfect.
So I should be okay now. So I should be able to travel and do what I need to do. So
I'll keep my fingers crossed for you because the disappointment when you have stuff booked in and then it doesn't go ahead is it's just disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much.
How's the podcast and everything going for you?
Well, so what I'm doing is I'm recording season 2 right now. So you're going to be on season 2. And I wanted to sort of record a few in one go rather than have the pressure of like needing to record them every week because it's just, a bit too stressful to do it that way. So please be back into it. Kind of resurrected my Instagram and putting the feelers out for some like more topics and having to think about some like different ideas and stuff. So I'm excited to be back to it really after my little hiatus. I just was a bit too busy with all the traveling and then work and stuff at the back end of the year to kind of concentrate on it. But no, we're back and I mean business now. So thanks a lot for agreeing to come on as a guest. And I hope there's no sort of tech issues because I know when I came on yours, we had to record it twice, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So
hopefully no tech issues. So should be okay.
Hopefully that doesn't happen. So do you want to maybe just tell the listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah. So I'm Pete. And basically, I have a YouTube channel, I have a podcast, and those are my main 2 outlets. But it's really all just about investing in the stock market, trying to use your money that you have now to create wealth for the future, and all of that good stuff. The stuff that really should be taught in the curriculum in school, but is missed off the curriculum because, I have no idea why, but it should definitely be in there. So my channel's all about just empowering people's investment decisions. And I use a lot of my experience from being in the industry for 15 years to help people in that way.
Yeah, because your background is, your background's in finance, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I started off in retail banking originally as a cashier. Then I moved from that to customer facing, kind of like more customer advisory in branch. Then I went from that into corporate banking, which is where you work with like small, medium-sized enterprises to finance like cars, vehicles, boats, that kind of stuff. And then I went from there into wealth management, where I kind of still currently work at the moment. And wealth management is where I qualified as a financial advisor, qualified as a mortgage advisor. It's the interesting part of the industry. One that I found was I didn't really know how I was going to end up in that part of the industry, to be honest, but I'm glad that I did. So,
and since we first met, which is like almost a year ago, all your channels, they've just gone off. They've exploded, haven't they?
Yeah, they have. See, this is the beauty of lockdown. And to be honest, if I look back at it now, it was purely coincidental because for years I wanted to do a YouTube channel. For years I thought about, well, actually the YouTube channel was the main thing, but I was like, oh, I don't know if people are going to like me. And you know what people
Pete,
like on social media. No, but it's true though, because like, you know what social media is like. Everybody has an opinion on social media. And like, when you put stuff out into the world on social media, you open yourself up to all kinds of negativity and criticism. And I was like, okay, so will people actually, will they take to me? Will they listen to what I'm saying? Will they think I'm just talking absolute rubbish? And it held me back for a very long time. And I don't know what it was, but last year we went to Thailand, the Christmas and New Year's of 2019. And I was out there and I was like, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it and see what happens, basically. So we started in January 2020. The podcast came off the back of that because my friend was like, well, if you're doing a YouTube channel, just take the audio and turn that into a podcast. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. So I did that. And then anyway, the podcast changed a little bit because I then realized that because on video, you're referencing things like if you see this, it doesn't connect on the podcast level. So I then stripped out the podcast to be separate. But yeah, everything's just gone. It's gone really, really well. The channel went from, we got 11,000 in the first year on the channel. But since the beginning of this year, we've gone from 11,000 to 25,500 on YouTube now. The podcast has grown quite significantly. I had a target to double the number of downloads that I had in 2020. This year, I met that in March. So now I'm going to push that forward to try and get, to about 80,000 downloads. That might still be a little bit too easy. So if we can get to 100, that would be amazing. If we can get to 100 downloads, that will be amazing because that will be in 2 years, 4 years. So yeah.
Well, amazing. Well, I'm so happy for you because, like I said, this was a year ago when I met you, and I think we might have even had like a similar number of Instagram followers or something when we first, because obviously YouTube was your main channel, and it just goes to show sort of the power of consistency and just hustling your buns off to make it work. So I'm pleased it's going so well. Although I did want to ask you though, because you've last week I saw somebody basically has been imitating you, haven't they? Yeah. Do you want to just maybe explain to the listeners what's happened there?
Yeah, so apparently this is happening more and more now, but someone basically created an account. They spelled the account differently. So my account is Conversation of Money. So they created a Conversation of Money account with 2 T's, then 2 S's. But basically, he took the time to download all of my 400 odd videos, upload them to a separate account, and then he followed every single person that was following me, or a big portion of them, and then started to direct message them, acting to be me, asking them to invest in a crypto trading platform, essentially. And yeah, so I've been combating that over the last week. I have left it alone this week because I can't be bothered anymore. My main concern was trying to protect people first and foremost, because if people think that it's me and then get scammed, they're going to have a bad experience.
This is why I wanted to bring it up, because there's obviously nothing to stop this individual from imitating you and doing what they've done. And like you say, they've contacted people that at face value they won't notice. They'll say, oh, Pete's contacted me and he's an expert in investing or crypto or whatever it is, the reason they followed you and in a topic that you've been talking about. And so they might take that as a sincere thing and actually act on it. And it's it's dangerous. You don't want people to be being succumbing to fraud, essentially.
Pretty much, yeah. And it tarnishes all the hard work that I put in over the last year and a bit by some guy. And to be honest, I don't know how. It's happened on YouTube a couple of times. I've seen YouTube accounts pop up with my name. This is the first time on Instagram where it's been taken to that extent, where they've actually tried to replicate my account, like post for post, like everything. And unless you're paying attention, you won't know that it's not me, because it's subtle differences in the way the name is spelt that you just wouldn't pay attention to. And Instagram have been really poor. Instagram have done nothing about it. I've reported it. I've had people who I know who have contacted me in Facebook try and report it on my behalf. They've done nothing. And, to think that I create financial content and potentially people lose money because they think it's me when it's not me. And I'm trying to tell them it's not me. This person is impersonating my account, has replicated my account post for post, for them to do nothing, no email to acknowledge it, nothing at all, despite the hundreds of people who would also reported that account, for the account still to be live today. It's just an absolute farce. And part of me is going to step away from Instagram now, because it's not worth it.
Well, I guess not when it's risky like that. And that's the thing. It's not just that it's some random weirdo that's just messaging people to say hi. It's somebody that's trying to defraud them essentially, and doing it under, your good name.
I mean, the guy had the cheek on because obviously I found out about this on like the Monday morning at like 1:30 a.m. Okay. So I'm up at that time of night anyway. So I immediately kind of did a story on Instagram and tagged the account, so he knew that I knew that he was cloning my account. He had the cheek to email me to say, "Oh, your account is really good, bro. No hard feelings. I'm just going to use it to make a bit of money. Sorry."
What?
And I've sent Instagram that message. I've sent Instagram that message, and still they've done nothing. But it's just the cheek of he knows fully what he's doing. And I think a few people have fallen for it, which is the sad thing. But at the end of the day, I spent a lot of that week just, on the stories on YouTube Live, just saying to people, like, if you are being contacted on Instagram, just know, number one, I would never contact you to invest in anything personally. So with the best will in the world, if you send this person money, you're being an idiot, because that's not something I would do. You know that when you're speaking to this person, he doesn't sound anything like me. Okay. So I'm not going to be asking you to text foreign numbers, join foreign Telegram groups or anything. Just be mindful. But it is what it is.
I mean, it is the way of the world. It's just sad when, the content that you're trying to produce is to help empower people with their finances and get them to, firstly, and the same with what I'm trying to do here is to get people to think about it in the first instance, and look at their own, habits, and just take an interest in either their own finances or investing. But you then don't want them to then fall foul of predators like this, when all these people are trying to do is educate themselves and maybe make a bit of money by investing or whatever else it might be. And then because of that, they end up worse off because they're sort of taken advantage of by a predator like this.
Yeah, but the funny thing that I've noticed with all of this is this. Social media, I don't like social media, although it's where I operate. Yeah. And I don't like the phrase influencer, although that's clearly what I've become now. I've become I hate that word though.
I hate it too. It's just got so many negative connotations. I really don't like it.
But then again, I understand that there is power in what we do with creating content. And funny enough, because he was selling crypto, there's a reason why he has the environment to do that. Is because there is so much nonsense going on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok now, crypto this, crypto that, you need to buy this altcoin, that altcoin, it can make you a millionaire overnight. There is so much of it that it naturally gives rise to opportunists like this guy who thinks, oh yeah, his channel is growing quite significantly. I've got a program that can just replicate his account and I'm going to try and rip people off. And I think we need to be really, really careful in today's day and age, because with all the hype and people just talking about stuff that they don't really understand, but is topical because it's cool, then something needs to be done, because it's not sustainable long term. People end up getting hurt. And unfortunately, you don't hear those stories. You hear the guys who make money or supposedly make money in all of these things. But the thing is, you never really know what's going on, because at the end of the day, social media is a smokescreen. You only see the good stuff. You never hear any of the bad stuff. You never, ever hear any of that bad stuff. And I think we just need to be more aware of that.
No, I think it circles back to sort of what we said at the start about, just financial, education and just education in general. And I think you're right that social media you don't need to have any credentials to be on here. You can say and do whatever you want. It's a bit like isn't there a catfish program at the moment or something that's come to the UK, which I haven't watched, but people pretending to be something they're not. And that was something that I was really concerned about when I started my podcast and that I never want to ever be accused of being, a charlatan and commenting on something or giving advice on something that I just frankly don't have the authority to comment on. And that's not what I certainly want to do with any of the stuff I put out there. It's not to offer advice or preach to people. It's just to maybe get people talking and get people thinking. And the same with you. You've got your credentials from your career today, and the stuff that you talk about is the stuff that you're qualified to talk about. And it's to hopefully do the same thing and give people pointers, but it's not to then do anything beyond that in a way that's sort of detrimental.
Yeah. And that's something that I really struggle with because sometimes I wish that I didn't say that I'm a qualified financial advisor on YouTube, because people then naturally watch me and it's like, oh, I'm getting advice from Pete. And it's like, no, you're not getting advice from me, because, people don't quite understand what advice actually means. Advice is personal. So you can't get advice from a video, because a video is supposed to be educational in its nature. I always say to people, use it as a means to do your further research from a voice who has been in a certain sector, who understands how some of those things work from a practical application point of view. But people still confuse the advice side and the guidance side. And I always find it really difficult to separate those two. Because when people say, oh yeah, great advice, I'm like, oh my God, please don't say that.
No, it's hard, and it's human nature. It's just like if you're chatting to a pal or something that's going through a difficult time, and really you just want to listen and be, an ear for them or a shoulder to cry on. And often, I don't know, I find this, you can't help but try and offer some advice because you're just trying to be helpful. But you can't really do that. Somebody needs to figure out what they need to do on their own, don't they?
Yeah. It is a minefield because there is so much information out there at the moment. Actually, I was watching Yahoo Finance yesterday, and they actually ran a bit of a research paper looking at over the last 12 months. So through the pandemic, where people were going to get information about investing, personal finance, so on and so forth. 67% of people were using YouTube. 67% of people were using YouTube. And I'll tell you this right now, just so off the back of YouTube, obviously I've got the podcast, I've got my investment course, but I also do one-on-one sessions as well. The quality and caliber of people that have come to me for coaching around, this is my situation, I have no idea what to do, can you help? They should naturally go straight to a financial advisor. And the thing that amazes me the most is, and financial advisors won't like this, but it's true, nobody's going to a financial advisor for help. They are watching YouTube, to get information and then trying to figure out where they need to go from there. And if there is anything that shows testament to the power of social media, that does, because it's unreal to me that, I have people with good amount of cash, 200, 300, 400, 500,000 pounds. I had a guy once who was going to be receiving millions, right? Watching a YouTube channel to find out what's going on, what he should be doing. It's mind-boggling to me. It's mind-boggling to me. And it's like, I'm thankful that people are looking at YouTube for it, but like the industry that I work in, you should get professional advice. Like, I'm a qualified financial advisor, which is probably why they've messaged me off the back of watching videos. But it's just amazing that social media is the bastion of information now. And I don't think we're ever going to be able to retreat from that. And the more my industry isn't on social media trying to share knowledge like I'm trying to do, they're going to miss out big time.
Well, it's the same way people just take their news source. They'll use Facebook as their news source with no concept of where a post may or may not have come from. It's terrifying, actually, to think that people, take that at face value and then do something with it. God. So of kind of all the people that do contact you and all the content that you put out there, what's the most popular? What's kind of the number one thing that people are looking to you for advice for?
It's all investing.
Is it? Yeah.
It's pretty much 90% of people that I've had for coaching have been, actually probably more, 95, 97% of people that I've had for coaching, it's all been about, where do I begin? Where do I begin investing? If they haven't taken my course, which gives all of the basics, like, okay, I've done a lot of research. I'm now looking at providers and I have no idea what I'm reading. Like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what this means. And what coaching essentially does is, I use it as a forum to, number one, help people understand what their risk appetite is. So as a financial advisor, you would typically go through a risk questionnaire with someone so they knew, right, okay, if you're looking to invest, this is the risk that you're able and willing to take. So I do that in a questionnaire. I then say, look, who are the providers that you've had a look at? Who do you have a preference for? And then we get into that provider and I explain, right, that's what this means. That's what that means. If you need to, if you're looking at this option, remember your risk is this. So if you go into this, you're overextending yourself. We then talk about timeline theory and how that can impact the whole series. It's really just about guiding people so that they can make it a decision feeling like they are informed to make that decision properly.
Because, and this is kind of working on the basis that if you do maybe have some, you've got your salary and you've got some spare cash knocking around at the end of each month, or you've just got some savings or something that you understandably you want to try and use that as a tool to grow it into more. And really, there aren't that many options really, are there, for people to, you can invest in property, you can invest in the stock market, you could invest in crypto, you could invest in a business. That's about it, right?
That's pretty much it, yeah. Property, crypto, investing, businesses. I mean, businesses are a difficult one. I mean, I had an email this morning. Someone approached me saying, well, I've watched your stuff on YouTube. I've got a great business opportunity. We're looking for $5,000 investment. Like, I'm not investing in small businesses at this point. Like, I'm investing in the stock market. So people are often more interested in crypto, property, or the stock market. And the thing is, with property, you need to kind of know what you're doing. You need to have the capital originally to get going with that. So that's often a barrier for some people. Crypto is very speculative. So you need to understand what crypto is all about. If you're going into all of these coins, what are those coins actually designed to do? Because there's so many new ones coming up now, it's like, okay, it's like a minefield. You could easily.
But I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'm always slow on the uptake and always behind the trend curve, I always say, but if it sounds too good to be true, then it probably is. And don't invest in something that you don't understand, I guess, would be a good first principle.
That is a really good principle. Don't invest in anything you don't understand. And that includes, stock market as well. I mean, I'm not a crypto expert in any way, shape or form. It's not really my domain, but the investing side is. And when it comes to investing, there are so many ways that you can invest. You can invest in direct shares. So go and buy them off, Free Trade, Trading 212, eToro, Orca, Stake. There are so many of them now that you can go and buy fractional shares, a piece of Apple or a piece of Amazon. There are so many of them now. But you've got that in one instance, but you've also got the ability where you can go and buy funds. And people don't often understand the difference between buying an individual share and buying funds. And therefore it becomes a bit of a minefield. And what I find is that a lot of people who watch social media go and buy individual stocks, which is really high risk. Like, there's so much work that goes into being able to understand, why are you buying Apple or Tesla or Amazon? And how do you diversify your risk? And this is the one thing that I've noticed that has been so frustrating. When people think about investing or come across a conversation when it comes to investing, it's preceded with, you can make so much money. This is a money-making opportunity. Nobody ever explains, by the way, yes, you can make quite a bit of cash, but actually you can lose money as well. And the chances when you start off is 50-50. And if you're investing, or at least when I'm investing, I don't go into something if I'm going to have a 50% chance of winning, 50% chance of losing. For many people, that will be okay. But I'm like, no, I want to be able to stack the odds in my favor that I'm able to win and not lose. And that's called risk management. And that's the bit that everybody just skirts over. The reason why people skirt over it is because There are a lot of people who don't understand investing, talking about investing. So they don't actually understand how it actually works from a practical, technical point of view. They just know if you go and buy this index fund, that's fine. Over X amount of years, it's going to be fine. Okay, but what are the nuances behind that? What are the things that you need to consider behind that? A lot of people don't understand that stuff. And so for me, I'm like, okay, if you're going to approach investing, yes, okay, you can make a lot of money. Investing is where wealth is created. However, you need to manage your downside risk. And there is an art to that. You need to start there first, not at the how much can I make? You have to start at, right, how do I minimize my risk in this endeavor to ensure that I've got more chance of making money than losing money? Once you've done that, everything else that comes along should be articulate to that plan, essentially. And that's one key thing that I think people miss massively with social media and all the hype that is going on at the moment with investing.
Yeah, because on social media, I guess, well, you can be given all sorts of pieces of advice with that word that we're not meant to use, that kind of misleads people. I mean, can the average person just manage their own investments? I mean, one of the things when I started this podcast, the premise for it was because so many people are happy to tell me that they're not a numbers person when I tell them that I'm trained as an accountant. People are quite quick to say that. So can the average person manage their own investments, or is it safer for people to give their money to an independent financial advisor or something like that?
I think it really depends on personal acumen. I think if you're going to go into this, right, I'm going to manage my own investments, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions first. Like, first and foremost, do you have the time to do it? Like, this isn't just something that you just sit there and just never see again for 20 years. Like, it takes a little bit of work, especially if you're, inclined to be picking your own stocks. I mean, that's a full-time job in itself. That's no job.
Exactly.
Like, and people don't quite understand that. They don't really appreciate that. If you're looking at picking your own stocks, you really need to understand, number one, how businesses work, how businesses make money. You need to understand how to research a business. So, what do they do? Who are their competitors? Do they have a competitive advantage? Their financials, what does that look like? Are they making money? Are they making losses? Are they paying dividends? Do they have dividends cover? What is their earnings per share? What is their PE ratio? Because all of this stuff, it will help you understand why you're buying this business. It's like so if I came up to you on the road, Victoria, and I said, I'd really love you to give me 10 grand. What are the questions you're going to ask me? What do you do for a living? How much do you earn? What's going to be the repayment schedule? You're going to look at what I do and see, actually, COVID, am I likely to be made redundant? How secure is my job? The same thing. It's the same thing when you're looking to invest in the company and you're looking to pick those stocks individually. You need to see yourself as a dragon in Dragon's Den. Like, you need to be asking some serious questions. How are you making money? What is the likelihood of me getting my own money back? That is massively intensive. The other less intensive side to it is if you go and buy an index fund. I mean, that's relatively easy to do. You've got Vanguard, Fidelity, you've got a whole host of people, Hargreaves, down to where you can go and buy those funds. You still need to understand what you're doing, though. You need to understand what you're reading. You need to understand what they're going to be doing for you in the background. And you also need to have the time to actually familiarize yourself with some of the language that is being used. Because, these guys at Vanguard, they're not tailoring this in simple language for you to understand. No, they expect you to have a certain level of understanding, which is why I created my course in the first place. So it covers things like asset allocation, asset classes. What do all those things mean? If you're going to buy a fund, those are the languages that you're going to come across. So you need to understand that. And you also need to understand, okay, well, how often should I review these? It's relatively simple. Review at least once a year. But what are you going to be looking for when you're reviewing? So it's not that people can't manage their own investments. They absolutely can, but they have to be willing to dedicate time to actually pick up some knowledge so that they know what they're doing. I mean, you can go and buy an index fund with Vanguard, cheap, no problem at all. It doesn't require any other interaction apart from your yearly pickup. But what are you doing on your yearly pickup? So for people who perhaps think, oh my God, I've got no time for that. I'd rather spend time with family and social life and all this kind of stuff. Then you're probably better off using something like either a robo-advisor or a financial advisor. That's the simple truth. The big caveat, and this is something that I've found over the last 12 months, is that people feel as though the cheapest is the cheapest option is the best option, and that is not true. And
with an advisor or?
Well, with investing, period. If it's not cheap, I'm not going to do it. That one costs more money than that one. So I'm not going to go with that one, even though that one where you're paying a little bit more is the perfect one for you. And that is because there are so many people on YouTube talking about, just get a cheap index fund. You need to keep the cost low. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. So if you're the kind of person who hasn't got the time to be managing your investments, and like, for example, at the moment, the markets are really choppy. Like, I'm looking at investment portfolios where everything is red. Like, everything is red. Now, if you're new to investing and that panics you.
Yeah, which it would for most people.
Which it would for most people, you definitely shouldn't be managing your own stuff. Give it to somebody to do it for you. And there are lots of providers out there who will do it for you, who will rebalance your portfolios. The caveat is you've got to pay them an additional fee, a little fee for their expertise. There's nothing wrong with that. But everyone's been told cheap. You need to keep the cost low. Well, with that, you've got to acknowledge that it will require more of you. And if you don't have the time, you don't have the know-how, you've got to really question why you're doing it in the first place.
Do you know whether most people that take your course then subsequently go on to manage their own finances, or do they do the course and realize, oh, this is way more involved than I thought it was going to be? I'm not going to bother, or I'm going to get someone else to do it. Or
I think it's a mixture. It's a mixture. But what I've done in the course, though, is I have a section that is dedicated to invested in funds and invested in stocks, to basically highlight the difference between the two and the work that it takes. So I would like to think that many people who take the course, whilst it's not there to, I don't necessarily want to steer people. I just want to give people, like, by the way, this is what's up.
Yeah.
You go down this route, this is what you're going to find. If you go down this route, this is what you're going to find, so they can make an informed decision. So I think it's a bit of a mixture of people that decide to do it. But, I've had some really interesting conversations and DMs over the last week or two where the market has been so choppy, people wanting to quit, wanting to give up. And it's like, okay, let's go back to the basics. One of the first things I say to people in coaching, and I've said it, at the beginning of this year, what is your goal? Why are you investing? What are you doing it for? Many people are like, I just want to have money. Okay, well, that's not really a clear goal. Like, money is a tool, life is for living. Money is a tool to help you live the life you want. So what is the life that you want? Because the money will get you there, not the life that you want to live. That's not going to give you the money. It's the opposite way around. So I always say to people, what are you investing for? Why are you doing this in the first place? Is it for legacy? Is it for retirement? Is it for your first house deposit in 5 or 6 years' time? Why are you doing this? Because if you're clear on what that is, it doesn't matter what happens when the markets get choppy. I've got a plan. I know why I'm doing this. You would have accounted for the fact that actually markets will go up and down. You've managed the downside risk. So I'm prepared for this. I'm okay. I'm not going to quit now because I know why I'm doing this. It means something to me. You have something that centers you. That is completely missing across social media. And again, it's because people don't necessarily understand from a practical point of view the things that you have to cover with people when they're looking at investing in the stock market. It's a brutal place. People lose money every single day on the stock market. GameStop, AMC was a prime example. Yeah, there were a lot of people who made money. There were a ton of people who put their life savings into that and lost thousands.
Was that the one where some computer people wanted to hack the system and kind of undermine the stock market and is that the right one? I'm thinking, explain that in like layman's terms, because obviously I don't understand it properly.
So basically, last year, it was this year, actually, beginning of this year, we had 2 companies called AMC and GameStop, GME. And basically, some guys on Reddit found out that one of the big investment houses had shorted the stock. So what that basically means is they place a bet on the market that the share price was going to fall. And they did certain things to force the share price down. Okay. So what they basically said was, actually, you know what? Big banks and investment houses do all this all the time. We're not having any of it. They mobilized their Reddit community to basically bet the opposite way of the guys who bet that the share price would go down. Now, essentially what tends to happen is this: it's supply versus demand. If you bet, for example, that the share price is going to go down, but a ton of people go and buy that stock, the price is going to go up. And what you then had is you had something called a short squeeze. right? So the short squeeze meant that the banks had to plow more money in to cover their losses. But these guys were like, no, we're putting more money in. And as they're buying in the share price at the lower point, because the share price is going up, they're making a ton of money at the top end. So there are a lot of people who actually cashed out, but because it was based on the internet and it went viral, a lot of people got in very, very late when the share price was already really, really high, plowing life savings into it. In the end, what happened was a lot of the guys at the top ended up getting out. And what you then saw is that the share price then plummeted. And everyone who put money in at the top obviously lost money because there's no more value in that stock. And that's essentially what happened. And that's why, it's really, really dangerous to listen to things that are on social media or follow trends on social media, because you have no idea what you're doing if you're not in the know of what's going on.
Oh, it's so true. I mean,
really sad.
Thanks for explaining that, because I remember reading that and being like, this blows my mind, because it was like something you'd see in a film and you wouldn't believe it. You'd be watching it thinking, nice try.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a film made of that, because it's the first time in history where you saw the retail investor go up against the institutional investor and pretty much win for a lot of the time. I mean, people would have lost jobs over that. Like, some of the investment houses lost billions of dollars. Really?
I don't think that's got the press coverage that it probably deserves, because I reckon I could speak to most of my friends and they wouldn't have I mean, I clearly couldn't articulate it very well, but at least I knew about it. But most of them probably would have no idea that even happened.
Yeah. Some of the investment houses lost billions. They got wiped out. I mean, people like Robinhood, for example, I mean, the damage to their brand is absolutely huge from what they did during that whole saga. If there isn't a movie made out of it soon, I'll be very, very surprised. But it's one of the situations where, again, it highlights the power of social media and social followings. And I think, as all things, I'm going to quote something off a comic book now, because I'm a comic book geek in that way. With great power comes great responsibility. And I fear that sometimes people don't necessarily take the responsibility part of it seriously.
No, it's, you just sometimes assume that it's someone else's fault or it's someone else's problem, or we live in a blame society where you can point the finger at someone else and you have to take ownership of your own actions, but you just have to be informed, don't you? Don't just look for a quick buck. And would you say with investing that you kind of need to be in it for the longer term, really?
Yeah, I mean, it is a long-term game. I mean, even my video that is going live this evening at 5:00 talks a little bit about that. And I talk about looking at, the US market, so the S&P 500, which is an index on the US market. That's been around for 94 years. 94 years, since 1929. In that period of time, it's only had negative years 29 times. So when you look back over a 94-year period, it's had way more up years than it has down years, significantly so. If you had been invested since 1929 in that S&P 500 index, you'll be a millionaire multiple times over.
Compound interest, baby.
Exactly, compound interest. And it's also about having a plan, obviously, being able to budget, make sure that, you've got enough disposable income, then pointing that money into a fund or into the stock market in a way that you feel comfortable with. Those fundamental practices do come into this, and they're very, very important. But investing really is for the long term. Unfortunately, again, social media has people think about short-term gain. It's all about short-term gain. What can I get immediately? How does this pay off quickly? And again, that gives rise to guys who want to impersonate me to get people's money, because we can double your money in about 3 days. It's like, we need to be mindful and cognizant and just sensible with the things that come across our desk. Unfortunately, oftentimes, because it's dealing with money and it has to do with money, and we have an emotional attachment with money, the rational side of our brain often doesn't kick in. True. Unfortunately, because we don't think about, that doesn't sound right. We're thinking, you're going to double my money. Yeah. Thinking about the gain, in opposed to, that's not right. Yeah. How are you going to do that? And asking the questions that should naturally come off the back of that.
Oh, I mean, that's a whole other podcast episode, isn't it, about the emotional side of money, which actually is what I spoke about with you on yours. But no, that's it. Ask questions. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. And Amazing. Well, thanks for coming on to talk to me. If people want to find you, where can they find you? And if they want to do your course, how can they do that?
Yeah, so all of the social medias are essentially Conversation of Money.
And spelled correctly, no extra R's, no extra T's. Look out for that, guys.
No extra S's. So it's Conversation of Money. That's the YouTube channel. That is the Instagram account, although I will be taking a little bit break from Instagram. I'll probably be on there maybe once a week, if that now. And then you've got the Conversation of Money podcast, which is on Spotify, Apple, all of the good podcast outlets. The website is conversationofmoney.com. You can find the curriculum for the course on there. It's 4 chapters, 15 lessons. It's all self-taught. There are tests and assessments in there to help you consolidate your knowledge. You can finish it in about 94, 96 minutes. So it's really comprehensive, but it's broken down into really plain, simple English that anybody can understand. And I try to bring analogies into it that are relevant to real life as well, so people can easily connect the dots with everyday circumstances. It's only $59.99. I'm told that I should sell it for a lot more than that. I've had people who message me be like, I've just taken a garbage course for 200 quid and I got nothing for it. And I'm like, I do want my course to be accessible to everyone. So it's $59.99. So it's pretty cheap. But that's on the website, conversationofmoney.com.
Well, yeah, listeners, go and grab yourself a bargain then. And look, it's been so nice to catch up, and enjoy your holidays. I hope they go to plan as expected.
Fingers crossed. I hope so. But yeah, thanks for having me on. I really do appreciate it, Victoria.
Pleasure. Speak to you soon.
Catch you soon.
Thanks,
cheers.
Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. And if you enjoyed that episode, please make sure you hit subscribe. That seems to be what all the other podcasters ask people to do. And also, please do give me a follow on Instagram. I'm on @theunlikelyaccountant. So you can send me any DMs with any thoughts or feedback. Only if it's complimentary, of course. Thanks.